hang on. It's the Lord's will to crush him, cause him to suffer, make him sick. It does speak of him bearing our sickness and pain, so he certainly entered into our suffering in that respect. To see if his life will make itself a guilt offering. Very interesting passage there. Out of all of the sacrifices that were instituted for the people of Israel, the one that specifically dealt with certain intentional sins was the asham. And yet here it says that the servant of the Lord, his soul, his life will be an asham. It will be a guilt offering. Isn't that interesting? But wait, it says he'll see seed and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. Boy, I mean, it really seemed like it was working well and referred to Jesus. And you seem to have an answer for everything, but not this. He didn't have any kids. He didn't see offspring. He didn't have any kids. He didn't prolong his days because he died. So how could the will of the Lord prosper in his hand? Well, I mean, the second objection is pretty easy. If you die, the only way to prolong your days is through resurrection. Generally speaking. Once you die, the only way to have extended life is by being raised from the dead. At least that's been the rule thus far in human history. So, since it says, I mean, look at these other passages it speaks of. He's stricken, he's smitten, he's pierced, he's crushed. Speaks of his wounds, he's oppressed, he's afflicted. He's led like a lamb to the slaughter, right? He's taken away by oppression and judgment. He's cut off from the land of the living. It speaks of his grave and his death. Sounds like he dies. I mean, how many more phrases do you need? He's going to be crushed. He's going to be beaten down. He's going to be killed. He's going to be cut off. He's going to die. He's going to go to a grave. Okay, I think we get the point. He's going to prolong his days. I call that resurrection. This clearly speaks of his preservation beyond death. You say, but what about his seed? His zerah, his seed. Well, it's interesting. Zerah simply means seed, and it could refer to a seed that goes in the ground, or it can refer to male posterity. It can refer to offspring in general. In that sense, no. Contrary to the Da Vinci Code, Jesus did not have... That's the answer. It is Jesus, and he had physical offspring. And Dan Brown is right. Forgive my sarcasm. I was involved in a debate earlier this year, dialogue debate about the Da Vinci Code, so how to read the book and get into all of that. So, but also when I say forgive my sarcasm, as I often explain, I'm a New York Jew, so sarcasm runs in my veins. Before I was a believer, as I've often explained, it was sinful sarcasm. When I'm in the Spirit, it's sanctified sarcasm. Normally, it's somewhere in between. If you do a little study in the book of Isaiah, you'll find that sometimes this word zerah, seed, is used metaphorically. I mean, could you call human beings like a seed of serpents, by the way? And mean that they were genuinely offspring of serpents? Or is that metaphorical usage right within the book of Isaiah? Again, it's always fun to look verses up and find them. See, if you go back to the very first chapter of Isaiah, he says in the first chapter, verse 4, "Ah, sinful nation, a people loaded with guilt, zerah re'im, a seed of evildoers, children given to corruption. They've forsaken the Lord, they've spurned the Holy One of Israel, they've turned their backs on him." And elsewhere in the book, there are these descriptions of Israel as an evil seed, even a seed of serpents, vipers. Clearly metaphorical in use. To me, since we have an absolute clear picture throughout that points from every angle to Yeshua, I mean, I always find it interesting Then anti-missionaries claim this can't refer to Jesus because it doesn't fit the description. Then they turn around and say, and the New Testament writers rewrote the New Testament to make this look like it was Jesus. Well, I thought you said it didn't fit the description. If they rewrote it to make it fit, how come it doesn't fit? I mean, the arguments are mutually contradictory. He doesn't fulfill any of the prophecies. They don't apply to him. The New Testament writers rewrote it to make it look like they applied. Well, did they apply or didn't they? Either you have a problem with what's written in the New Testament, or it applies. So, what's my answer here? I don't want to belabor it, but what does it say in Romans 8? What's the concept? That he's the firstborn among many brothers. There's no question that we are viewed as a spiritual seed, that we are joint heirs with the Messiah. We have become sons and daughters of God, part of his spiritual family. The New Testament doesn't quote this specific verse, but we're his brothers and sisters. We are joint heirs. We are now sons and daughters of God. He says, I'm going to my Father and your Father, my God and your God. We are part of his spiritual seed, part of his spiritual offspring, and that spiritual metaphorical usage of Zerah is even found within the book of Isaiah. There in a negative context, here in a positive context. He will see offspring, prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand.